What's up, everybody? Welcome to another YouTube Hangout. Super excited to be here. Happy Thursday for all you guys watching live. I'm with a new friend of mine, Alanna Myers. She has a business that is helping millennial entrepreneurs get started, learn about business and life mastery. Has her site launching soon, and she wanted to invite me to be a guest. And like, yes, let's do it. How about we do it as a hangout on my channel so you guys can learn about her. So I know you've got a whole bunch of questions, Alanna, but maybe just a quick intro for my audience to learn a little bit about you, what you're all about.
Yeah, sure. So I went to the University of the West Indies, which is in the Caribbean for you guys who don't know. And I actually studied veterinary medicine. So, it's kind of a dichotomy to coaching, but I felt really passionate about helping young entrepreneurs because I knew the struggle as a young veterinarian coming up. So I definitely wanted to just create a series where we could get, more information on entrepreneurship, because we have a lot of information working for someone, but, starting up our own, like writing our own book and that kind of thing as well. So, I made a transition. That's what I'm passionate about.
I love it. Well, this is your interview, so fire away. Whatever questions you have, let's do it.
Okay, great. So hi, everyone. So welcome to the Millennial Business and Life Mastery interview series. And we're here with Evan Carmichael. I know you just introduced yourself, but we're here with him. So he is the author of Word, also the founder of Believe Nation. Is there anything else you want to add to that repertoire?
I like it. I'm good. I'm an entrepreneur who believes in other entrepreneurs.
Yeah. So awesome. So we're just going to launch right into the first question then. And that is, so who is Evan Carmichael in business?
Who is Evan Carmichael in business? Evan Carmichael is a passionate individual who believes that entrepreneurs will solve all of the world's major problems. I think it's on us. It's not on governments. It's not on big corporations. It's on entrepreneurs. And my life's mission is to be able to go out and reach 1 billion entrepreneurs and help inspire them to do the amazing things to solve those big world problems. And so I set out through my YouTube channel, through my books, through the content I make to try to have my own big impact on 1 billion entrepreneurs. That's what I try to do and wake up every morning.
Okay, awesome. Sounds great. So why your one word? What inspired you to do that?
So I had a business and it was doing well and I was having success. I just felt like there was another gear inside me. I felt like I'm not hitting my potential. Like there's more that I can do than I'm doing right now. I'm not at the bottom. Like I don't feel terrible. My life is good. But it was just good. It's like I knew there's more. There's something else out there. There's a higher ceiling for me. How do I go out and do that? And for me, it came through self-awareness, and just figuring out what is the most important core value that I have. And I think as humans, we all have a single most important core value, which if you can narrow it down to one word, really helps you then set an intention for your life and for your business. And for me, it was about believe. And at first I thought that was too big a word. It was too scary. Lots of people have done it. Like, who am I to be the believe guy? And then I realized, you know what, everything good in my life, the books that I loved growing up and what I learned from my parents and my favorite movies and all the lessons that I learned, all were around believe. And all these moments in my past that made me feel great and alive were around believe. And I thought, listen, if I can now with intention bring more of that into my life in the future instead of randomly hoping that things happen, then I'm going to be happier. And if I bring it to my business, I'm going to have a bigger impact. And so I made my newsletter about believe. It started to take off. I made my YouTube channel about believe. It started to take off. I made my website about believe. It started to take off. Everything I touched around believe started to take off. One, because the audience resonated with it really well. So it was great. They had clarity over what my business was all about. But two was because it was a reflection of me. It was what I loved doing. I was suddenly much more proud of my work. I was suddenly feeling much more fulfilled with the work that I was doing. I was reaching that higher level that I was searching for, knew that I had a bigger ceiling to go out and reach. And so, believe isn't for everybody. I think everybody has their own one word. And when you figure out what that is, then you stop living your life according to other people's terms, and you start living your life with more intention. And until you understand what your main core value is, then you don't have a map. You don't know how to reach that higher level of success. And so I encourage millennial entrepreneurs and just millennials in general and the human race in general, when you have the self-awareness to understand who you are, what you stand for, then you can start to build the life and a business for those entrepreneurs that has a lot more meaning.
Okay, I love that actually. So believe was your word. So what's your advice to, I'm not saying to tell out your whole book, but what's your advice to millennials on finding their one word for themselves?
So it starts with thinking about it not as a New Year's resolution. It's not a word for the year. It's a word forever. It's the word for the rest of your life. It's the most important core value that you've always had and always will have. So just to reframe it, because a lot of times we get stuck in the problem that we're dealing with right now, whatever life is thrown at us right now, that it can be hard to step outside and see, you know, the bigger picture. So this is not just your core value for immediate, what you need in the moment today. It's what's always going to serve you forever and always has. So just set in that mindset. Next, start to think about all the things that have made you happy. I mean, I referenced it a little bit already. Make a list of who your favorite teacher is. Of the hundreds of teachers that you had, most of them you can't even remember their name anymore. That one person that stood out, what was it? Why did they stand out? It wasn't because they taught you chemistry. Like there was something about that teacher that made them stand out. What did you love about your parents? What was your favorite book and movie and song growing up? You'll find if you write these things down and then write down a couple words next to each as to why you love it, you'll see a theme start to come out. And that's going to be your one word, right? And so it's across all the things that you have loved that made you come alive in the past. And when you figure that out, now again, we can plan our life with intention going forward. Some people have a hard time going positive, and it's easy for them to go negative. So if you can't find it by going positive, think about all the things you can't stand in life. Think about the teacher you hated. Think about that person that was just toxic, the coworker, the boss, the person that you would never want to be around ever again in your life. You know, we all have those kind of people, unfortunately, around sometimes. And it's not necessarily that they're bad people. You know, we don't need to label them as bad. They just have a core value that is toxic for us. We can't stand the way that they act in this circumstance. And so if you can identify the negative thing, the thing that you absolutely hate, then if you find the opposite, that's the core value that means the most to you. That's your one word.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So, and I know the name of my first teacher, her name was Miss Harper, and she was one of the kindest people that I've ever met. You know, and I conversely, I know somebody who was actually the worst teacher I've ever had. And he was kind of a-hole, self-professed actually sometimes. So and he says he wasn't ashamed of saying it. So definitely I resonate with compassion. I don't know if that's my one word. I'll have to think about that a little more, but you know, definitely compassion is up there. So a lot of millennials, you know, well, we don't really know what we want to do yet with our life. So, and you resonate with belief. So how did you believe in yourself to become a published author and an entrepreneur?
I think the published author wasn't that big a step. I honestly didn't have a lot of respect for the industry. I didn't think like I needed to have a book to open up doors for myself. I think as an entrepreneur, though, it was a hard first step. I wanted to be a banker. It's what I thought I wanted to do. You know, my growing up, that was my dream job, and I had that opportunity, and I decided to go and be with this startup company where I was making $300 a month, mostly because of the decision not to live in regret. And I think that's super important. It's one of the most foundational things that drives my life and my decision-making process. I don't want to live with regret. And so any time you have a major decision ahead of you, should you be an entrepreneur or not? Should you ask that guy or girl out or not? Should you move to that country or not? Should you pursue this opportunity or not? You know, whenever you have these big decisions, think about, if you don't do it, are you going to regret it? And if the answer is yes, I'm going to regret not doing it, then you have to do it. Because you're trading off, there's always a short-term fear, right? There's a short-term fear, like what if the business doesn't work out? What if he says no and rejects me? What if? And that short-term pain prevents us from doing the thing that we want to do. But then you have to live with a lifetime of not knowing, which is an even greater pain. right? And so I make the future pain so strong that I bring it back and say, you know what, I can handle this little tiny bit of pain. Maybe he says no, maybe this business doesn't work out, you know, maybe this opportunity goes into the toilet, but I know I can deal with failure. I can't deal with not knowing. That's what's most important. And so I used that when I was 19 years old. That was the hardest decision I've ever had to make in my life. And ever since then, if I'm thinking about an opportunity, I just ask myself, am I going to regret this? Am I going to regret saying no? And then I know what I have to go out and do.
Yeah, that's so true. They say, you know, the number one thing that people on their dying beds they think about is, you know, regret what they could have done. So that's a very important point and something that I think we could all learn a lot from. So you're a published author, and so I just wanted to know, what's the number one thing you've learned from that whole process and being a published author? Like, what's the number one thing you've learned?
Number one thing I've learned about being a published author, I would say, don't treat it as it's such a big thing. I think a lot of people think it's such a huge deal, and then they don't take any action. It's this big, scary thing, and it's like, oh, published author, it's such a big deal. I'm not ready. I'm not good enough. I don't have a message. People won't read my book, all of this stuff. And we talk ourselves down from opportunities, usually much more than anybody else talks us down from things. We are our own worst enemy. And so I would say if people are thinking about writing a book or thinking about becoming a published author or have that on their bucket list, it's not that huge a deal. Like it's achievable. You can do it. Like life still goes on. I'm still the same Evan Carmichael I was before I wrote the book, right? So don't define yourself by a label of being a published author or an entrepreneur or a successful YouTuber. Like you're still the same human being. In terms of kind of impact on my business, it's been great to be able to reach out in another way. I'm known for most of my online content, my YouTube channel, my website, other social media. So it's great to have a physical copy of something that people can pick up and consume. That's been a nice change. And again, my goal is to help 1 billion entrepreneurs. And so I want to be able to do that in as many different ways as possible and make sense. But if you've got a book inside you, go and do it. Like just get it out. Believe in yourself and go and do it.
Okay. So that was awesome. So, but another kind of big thing that you are, that because a lot of people want to get into YouTube, and you're a very successful YouTuber. So what's one of the main things you've learned about YouTubing?
I think if you're looking at YouTube or any social media platform, the most important thing is to create content that you're proud of. I think it starts with understanding what your one word is, what your main core value is, and then creating content around that. You know, everything I make oozes believe. It has to. For me to be proud of it, it has to ooze believe. Like this interview is about believe, right? Like I am feeling and embodying believe in every word that comes out of my mouth. And I think you need to understand who you are and have a message that is powerful and important. I think too often we look at other people's content and say, well, I'm gonna make a YouTube video like that person, all right? And you can learn. It's great to model success. You know, if you want to be a great interviewer, you can model Oprah Winfrey, and you can model Larry King, and you can model all of these great people who are great interviewers. But you won't have success being exactly like Oprah or Larry King. Like you can learn from them, right? And you take pieces to become a better version of you. And I think that's the key. Like you can learn from people who've had success on YouTube. You can learn from my channel. If you try to copy me, the best you're ever gonna get is an Evan Jr., where I want you to be a better version of you. And that only will come when you have a message that you feel proud of sharing. And so understanding what your message is and then creating content that you're proud of, like, would you subscribe to you?
Yeah.
For most people, you wouldn't. For most people, like, look at your Twitter stream. Okay, would you subscribe to that Twitter stream? You know, most people, they wouldn't subscribe to their own stuff. So it's like you gotta be proud of the work. You know, you're creating this Millennial Business and Life Mastery program. You know, if you weren't making it, would you subscribe to it? That needs to be the asset test. Like the people that you bring on, the interviews you go out and have, you need to be proud of everybody that you bring on. And say, man, that was great content. I can't wait to go and consume it. Like I make videos that I want to watch. And then also thinking about like, would you want your grandkids to see this? You know, like this interview right now, I want my grandkids to see this interview. If they're, you know, at that age and thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, I want them to look at this interview and taking that into every piece of content that you're making, that my time is running out, that what I'm doing right now is really important and matters and has to mean something to the people that I'm creating it for, where, you know, people often feel like they have infinite time and they just throw away stuff and they create content that's just okay and they're not super proud of, and like one day they'll make it better and one day never comes and then you die. So make it better and make it more important right now.
Yeah, great advice. So you know, this is Millennial Business and Life Mastery. So I'll ask you a proverbial millennial question. What do you think is different about millennials in terms of business?
So I think, I mean, I think millennials, I mean, on the one hand, millennials are just human beings. We're driven by the same thing. You know, we want to go off and create a great life for ourselves. We want to avoid, you know, pain. We want to provide for our families. All of that stuff is the same from millennials now as they were from people in the 18th century. I think the difference right now is there's a lot more opportunities for young people to go off and have success. There's a lot more respect for young people than even when I got started. So I was born in 1980. I think that puts me on the, I think I'm just a millennial. I don't know. What's the definition of millennial? Where does it stop?
So basically it's, you said 1980?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that's where it actually starts.
So I'm like the first year of millennial.
You're on the upper end.
So I'm the grandfather of millennials. So listen up, millennials. I'm one of you. Barely. You know, when I started, so I'm 37 right now. When I had my business and I was off trying to sell my software company, I was 19, and I thought I was too young, and it was a lot harder than it is right now because a lot of people would look at a young person and not have as much respect. Where now, like if we're talking about YouTube, or we're talking about Snapchat, or we're talking about online marketing, we're talking about creative innovations and new ideas, a lot of the older generation, they know that they don't know that stuff. They know that they have no idea. Like they've asked their kids and grandkids for help setting up their computer and setting up their email address and setting up a Facebook account. And they know that their kids and grandkids are living in this world. And so they have learned to now ask the younger generations for advice. Where in the past, that would never happen. Like in the 1800s, you're not asking your grandkids for advice. It's always the other way around, right? You're always respecting your elders. And so there's still a ton that we can learn from our elders on values and treating people in day-to-day life and all of that. But it's also gone the other way in that around technology and entrepreneurship and new ideas, we want to learn from young people. And so I think a lot of the younger generation, they see people like Zuckerberg from Facebook and a lot of other young successful entrepreneurs taking off. They realize that, hey, I can do this too. Like, why can't I go off and be successful? When you see somebody who looks like you having success, it makes you feel like you can do it too. And so I think that's the change. There's a lot more mentors out there now for young people. There's a lot more opportunities out there now for young people. And so I think a lot of young people, not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, but I think it's a lot more on their radar, and there's a lot more value that young people can actually provide to businesses. And so that creates a lot of great opportunities for people.
Yeah, true. So I have a little bit of what I like to call a lightning round.
All right, here we go.
Install this segment at first, but a lot of people seem to like it, so why not? So the first question is Coke or Sprite?
Neither. Green tea. Green tea.
Wow,
I haven't had a Coke or a Sprite in years.
That's actually really good, but
if I had to pick, I would go Coke, but you'd have to force me to drink it.
Oh yeah. If you're all healthy and keeping to that, that's some entrepreneur ritual we could all, abide by.
Yeah, I mean, I could do a better job too. I could eat healthier in a lot of ways, but you know, I saw those commercials or those videos on like what Coke actually does to you, and like I can't have. I think it's Coke and like Twinkies. I can't eat Coke or Twinkies. It's just nasty stuff.
That's true. A lot of commercials out there about that. So chocolate or vanilla?
Oh, what? Like flavor ice cream or?
Oh, I didn't know it mattered. Sure, let's go with ice cream.
I don't know. We talk. Well, it depends. You know, chocolate or vanilla. If we go ice cream, I'm going vanilla. But I love chocolate. You know, if we're talking like covered raisins, chocolate covered raisins, that's some good stuff. Vanilla covered raisins, maybe. Depends on the context.
Okay. All right. I'm usually chocolate all the way, but I agree with ice cream. It's like, I don't know, it's something about chocolate ice cream that they don't get the chocolate.
It doesn't taste like chocolate. That's the difference.
It
right?
does, unless it has little chunks or something. Like you have to get real.
That's true. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So a few more questions. I thought this one was interesting. Hunter or gatherer?
Hunter or gatherer? I would probably go gatherer. Yeah, I'm much more on the. For me, it's also like sales or marketing. I'm much more marketing than sales. I'm much more like, let's create something that people will like to consume, as opposed to me knocking on doors and convincing you to come and buy from me. So I've never been asked that question. I like it. Gatherer.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was an interesting one to ask, and I like the parallel you drew. Sales or marketing. That's clever. So Facebook or Instagram?
That's a tough one. Facebook is where I have my friends. Facebook is where, like, it's the last place to reach me if you're my friends. Like, I don't use a cell phone, so you can't text me, you know, you can't call me. Facebook is where my wife reaches me, my family reaches me, my closest friends reach me. That's the fastest way to reach me, because I have it open. I have Facebook open right now. I have Facebook open all day long because it's like the emergency place to reach me. But it's the last place that I have that's personal. Okay. Everything else is public, right? So YouTube, Instagram. I'm not huge on Instagram. I'm getting more into it. So I would probably say Facebook, but for slightly different reasons. Facebook much more personal. Instagram and YouTube more external branding stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see where you're going with that. Or what you mean by that, that it's more personal. So Facebook page or website? I think I know the answer to that.
I would probably go, if you can afford it, I would go website. I think a Facebook page, if you have zero budget and you're first getting started, do a Facebook page, because you have no money and you can get started and you can link to it and say, hey, here's my content, go for it. The Facebook marketing platform is a pay-to-play platform. Unlike YouTube, unlike Instagram, like you need to pay to get your content shown. And so if you're just starting up, you don't have a budget to be able to do that, but at least you have a place for people to be able to consume your content. People will still, I think, at some point want to go see a website, at least for a lot of people. And so if I have zero budget, I'm just starting up, I go Facebook page, but I'm trying to create a website as soon as I can. Okay,
great. Yeah.
Was that what you expected? What you said, I think I know what you're going to say. What did you think I was going to say?
I did think you were going to say website, but I would have been cheating a little bit because of what you said about your Facebook before, and that it's more personal for you. So I'm more asking from a business perspective. So
I think too, though, like a lot of people feel like a website is super hard to set up and expensive, and there's ways around it, WordPress and different themes and stuff. But and there's lots of businesses that just start off a Facebook page. Like, just start. The key for entrepreneurship is starting. We have these ideas, these big plans, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm sure for your millennial business and life mastery, like you've got a million ideas on how to make it so amazing and awesome. And what happens with us is like the idea list just continues to grow and it gets more complicated and more perfect in our mind, and then we do nothing. It's like you got to do both. You have to think big and act small. So think, here's where business life mastery for millennials is going to be in 10 years. Great. And I need to go and do some interviews to get this thing going, right? So like long term, I want to have a beautiful website with all this great stuff, and I need to start actually doing something right now. So I'm going to start with a Facebook page.
Okay, great. So we have one more lightning round question and then one question to finish up kind of everything. Okay.
All right.
So, and that was, I think you answered it before again, but I'm still going to ask it. What was your favorite treat growing up?
My favorite treat growing up? Man, I don't think I've been asked that either. What was my favorite treat growing up? I mean, I did like ice cream. That's the easy answer. Did I like anything more than ice cream as a treat? I always remember just getting Neapolitan ice cream. My parents always had Neapolitan ice cream. It's the chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. And I would always eat the vanilla and the strawberry and leave the chocolate. So when you ask about chocolate ice cream, I just imagine the Neapolitan ice cream with just the chocolate left. Yeah. But it's true. It's because it doesn't taste like chocolate. Because if you gave me, you know what? I love, this is what I love. I love the chocolate Cadbury Easter eggs with the thing in the middle, the cream in the middle. That stuff kills me. I love that.
Oh, yeah. It's so, but you can't eat the whole thing at once, right? At least I can't.
Oh, I can eat, oh man, I can eat packs of those things.
Oh, wow.
That's dangerous. Me here on Easter time, I'm glad it's only Easter. That's some dangerous stuff. I'm sure it's just as unhealthy for you as Coke is, but that's a special treat. A secondary treat in my entrepreneur days was McDonald's French fries. Super unhealthy, but when I first started my business, I had no money and I was making $300 a month. And whenever we got a new customer, we would go to McDonald's to celebrate.
Oh, cool.
And we couldn't afford a meal because it would cost, you know, $8. So we would just buy a large French fries for the three of us and we would share it.
Yeah.
So for me, like McDonald's French fries is celebration. Even though it's super unhealthy and gross, like when you see how it's actually made and where it comes from and how unhealthy it is, but just even the smell of McDonald's fries is like success. Like, I just closed a big deal.
I love fries.
So when I finished my book, when I got my book deal signed and everything, I went to McDonald's and my wife and I celebrated with an entire meal, the fries and Big Mac. Like, you know what? Here we go. I can afford a Big Mac meal now.
Oh, that's awesome. No, it really is, because it was a fun answer, but at the same time, you got an idea of, even if your beginnings are small or seem really small, like you could go on to, as we said, become a published author and have your own business and have a successful YouTube channel. So we all have to start somewhere, right?
That's it. You start at the start. Everybody starts at the start.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to remind myself of that, actually, because, you know, I'm now starting up now. So there's hope. Yeah, so my final question was, what has business taught you about life?
What has business taught me about life? I think you know, one of the number one rules in business is about providing value. If you want to make money, you have to provide value. That's it. Like, it's a pretty simple, it's the rule of money. You want to make money, you have to provide value. The more value you can provide, the more money you're going to make. That's just how it goes. You want to make a lot of money quickly, provide a lot of value to somebody quickly. The struggle is figuring out, how can I provide value to people? You know, do people want to listen to my interviews? Do people want to buy, you know, my product? Is there enough that's going to help them with their problem? And so, you know, as an entrepreneur, you're constantly thinking about value mode. Like, how can I help? How can I provide value? How can I make this worthwhile? And money is just an exchange of value. And so I think that mindset helps me on the personal side too, in that I'm always trying to help the people in my life with what they want to do and their goals. I think the most dangerous thing you can do with me is tell me what your dream is. Because I'm gonna fight to try to make it happen, and often that means you have to do more work. Right? Like, hey, Alanna, you said you wanted this. How come you're not going off and doing this, right? And then it's like, well, I'm afraid, I'm scared. There's right, and so I like helping people with connections, with opportunities, with ideas to help them move forward, but also in pushing them, past their limiting beliefs when they need a push, because that's what they actually want to do. And so just listening and trying to provide value to people that I think I learned probably from my parents, but then also from business and bringing that back into the personal side.
Yeah, that's what life is about, right? The golden rule, you know, treat others as you would yourself, you know,
Sure.
so provide value in that way. Well, that's how I, you know, interpret it. So
I love it.
Yeah. So else, any, you know, words that you want to say before we go off the call and wrap up?
The only thing I would talk about is just that idea of start at the start. You seem to kind of resonate with that and your journey, where you're going, and I think a lot of people will too. A couple things that have helped me is realizing that use inspirational people that you look up to. So I don't know whoever you look up to in the interview world. I use Oprah and Larry King as examples, but maybe it's somebody else. Use those people as a kick forward, not a kick down.
Okay.
A lot of times we kick ourselves down too much. You know, it's like, oh, I suck. Like, oh, that was so bad. I didn't do a good job. And we're really hard. We are our own worst critic. And that could be a good thing when you use that as motivation to do better. But if you just kick yourself down instead of forward, then you're in self-pity mode, you're in depressed mode, you're in negativity mode. And that's especially important for entrepreneurs, because we may not have a support system of people around us encouraging us. We may be the only ones, you know, like you may be off doing this millennial business and life mastery class, and the people in your family are like, what are you doing? What, you're doing a what? You're gonna sell it how? Like what's this non-traditional career path you're trying to do? And so, you know, even if they love you, even if it's like all out of love, like they don't want to see you fail, it's easy to have people in your life who don't know how to support you and believe in you. And so quite often we look forward at these people who've done a lot more, and we can see that as a negative, and that like, oh, I'm never going to be like this person. I suck so much. Where every skill that you learn, you start at the start. Whether it's learning French or learning how to ski or whatever it is, baking a cake, like the first cake you baked was terrible. And then it gets better, and it gets better, and it gets better with practice. I think it's important to understand that the quantity leads to the quality. And whatever you're trying to do, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. I've done 5,000 videos on my channel.
Oh, wow.
5,000 videos. 1,000 of them.
Oh, congrats. Wow.
Yeah, it's great, and it's nothing. Like, I need to do more, you know? So, you know, I've earned where I'm at. I don't deserve more because I haven't provided enough value. I haven't worked hard enough, but I've earned everything that I've achieved. 1,000 of my videos are not even public. They're unlisted. They were practice. It's like, I've done more practice videos that never went public than most people ever make in their life. So and it's not to brag, because I sucked at the beginning. Go back and look at my first videos. They're embarrassing. They're really, really bad. I'm really bad. The content is like, the points are still good, but the delivery just sucked. And so understanding that, and yes, like I love Les Brown. You know Les Brown?
Yeah.
Les Brown. Yeah. So Les Brown is like I guess motivational speaker, personal development. I love Les Brown. Young Les Brown. That guy was fire. I love it. And so I looked at him and say, man, that guy was great. Like I aspire to learn and be at that level. And at the same time, I just want to be better than I was yesterday. And so looking at your content, looking at what you're producing, and trying to pull from both ends of, yes, being pulled forward by these great people, and also just saying, you know what, if I do better than I did yesterday, then I'm making progress. And if you put in the reps, you practice, you practice, you practice, the quantity will lead to the quality, and you'll get really good at what you're doing. So you start at the start. Everybody starts at the start.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on and providing such awesome guidance and advice for us millennial entrepreneurs.
I love it. I'm glad I'm still a millennial. I'm glad I'm millennial. I'm glad I can be the grandfather for all you guys watching. No, it's been awesome, Alanna, and it's a great thing you're trying to do here, helping millennial entrepreneurs, and wish you all the best luck in it.
Oh, thank you so much. And thanks once again for coming on. And we'll definitely keep in touch, right?
I love it. Thanks,
You're
Alanna.
my new friend. It's awesome to meet you.
Cheers.
All right, Evan. Okay, talk to you later. Okay, bye.